And deciding whether knees bent or legs extended might suit you best today. And perhaps experimenting with, if your knees are bent, let the knees drop in towards each other and kind of be held by each other, just seeing if that might be a nice option. Sometimes that can really invite the legs to kind of soften. Deciding where your hands might rest most comfortably for you today, maybe on the belly, maybe elsewhere in the body, maybe on the ground. And give yourself these last few moments just to scan through your body and notice any little shifts or changes you might be able to make to be even 5 or 10% more comfortable. So that right from the start of the practice today, you can kind of offer that invitation to yourself to notice how things are and to make the adjustments that you need to make to find a little bit more space or comfort or ease, whatever it is that you need right now. And then taking a moment to picture your body as it rests in the space that you're in. So having a mental image of the room. And your body within it. Allowing yourself to become aware of sounds within the room. And then perhaps becoming aware of sounds further away. Outside the room, outside the house. And as you expand your attention outwards, outside the place that you're resting, see if you can picture or imagine the sky opening up above you. There might be an awareness of sounds connected to the sky. It might be birds or planes. There might be the space in between the sounds. That kind of openness of the sky. And then let yourself imagine down beneath your body, beneath the floor, beneath other layers of the building that you might be in, all the way down to the earth. And wherever you are, whether it's somewhere rural, somewhere urban, you just keep imagining down at some point, getting to the kind of substance of the earth. And see if you can get a sense of that spreading out, offering support. So the body is resting and held between these two broad, open substances, the earth and the sky. And then when you feel ready, bringing your attention slowly back towards the body itself. And see if you can become particularly aware of the back surface of your body right now. So the parts of the body that are resting on the earth. And see if you can allow each out breath to be an opportunity to drop those surfaces of contact a little bit more into the support of the ground. So that as you breathe, the back of the skull, the shoulders, the back of the pelvis, the feet can all broaden and soften. Nestling into that support. And allowing yourself to be aware of your breath without needing to change or control it. So just lightly touching on the breath, aware that you're breathing in, aware that you're breathing out. Inviting yourself, if it feels possible today, to breathe through the nose so that the breath can be lengthened and support you in relaxation. But knowing that if you need to breathe through the mouth at any stage, just be guided by how things are feeling inside. And then when you feel ready, let's bring the knees in towards the chest. Have a bit of a rock and a roll, maybe from side to side, feeling the back of the pelvis massaging into the ground, feeling the spine. Right, and then let's take the left knee, extend the right leg away, and give yourself a moment to circle through the ankles. So you can circle the left ankle, but you could also circle through the right here. And as you circle through the right ankle, you might feel a little bit of opening across the front of that hip. So just feeling and sensing the connection from the kind of further out parts of the body back to the center. And then let's pause, relax the feet completely. And then let's bend the right knee, bring the right foot to the floor, and take the hands behind the left leg. I'm going to begin to extend this left leg up towards the sky, but keep a soft bend in the knee. So you don't want to pull so much that you feel any strain or tension in the lower back with this. So you can kind of make this your own. We're going to point and flex the ankle and gently kind of explore the position of the leg, maybe turning it out and in, bending the knee and straightening it a little bit more. Right. So this is a kind of invitation for that back line of the leg to open up a little bit, but we don't want to strain or stress it. So just take it as far as feels comfortable. Reaching through the heel a little bit more will open through the back line. Reaching through the toes will open up through the front line a bit more. Right. And then let's bring that foot back to the ground. Let's bring the right knee in towards the chest and extend the left leg away. And then bringing some attention to the ankles and the feet and circling a little bit through the ankles. Stirring up anything that might be a little bit sticky or held. And then let's pause and relax the feet. We'll bend the left knee again, left foot on the floor. Extend the right leg up towards the sky, maybe supporting the back of the thigh with your hands if that's useful. And then just give yourself a bit of time here to kind of play and explore with the foot, pointing and flexing through the ankle, maybe softly bending and straightening the knee. Just giving yourself a chance to kind of feel into the leg, sense the way that the leg might be connecting back into the center of the body. And respecting the lower back as you go. Great, and then bending that knee, placing the foot back on the earth, both knees bent. And let's take the arms up towards the sky and then bend the elbows. So we're taking hold of opposite elbows. And we can begin to circle with the elbows so that we can feel into the upper back a little bit more. Those circles can be as big or as small as feels good in your body right now. Let's change the direction of the circles for a few rounds. Great. And then coming back towards center, we'll change the cross of the elbows, so the forearm, so the other forearm comes closer to your face. And then let's drop the elbows a little bit to the left and follow with the head. So the head rolls to the left too. We're feeling a little bit of a stretch through the upper back and around the shoulder blades. Coming back towards center as you breathe in, and as you breathe out, drifting over towards the right, head rolling. Back to center with the in-breath, and rotating gently with the out-breath. Great, back to center as you breathe in, and out as you take the elbows to the right. And the next time the elbows move towards the right, we'll finish there. So coming back towards center, and then let's roll all the way over to rest on your left-hand side. We're going to bend the knees, extend the arms out so the palms are in contact with each other. And then we're going to come into some twists here, but you can kind of explore and find a way of moving that's going to suit your body. So we're going to slide the top hand forwards from where it is, and then keeping the fingertips more or less in contact with the ground, we're going to sweep that hand up over the ear, bending the elbow whenever you need, and then rolling yourself open so that the arms are wide, and then let the knees float up and over whenever you need to, so we don't want to get stuck. And then the left hand will follow. So then sweeping the left hand up and over, allowing yourself to open up and roll. And then following. Great. So there's a little bit of rotation coming into the spine, but we don't want to kind of jam or feel like we're separating top from bottom. So the whole body is moving kind of in connection. And let's take one more rolly twist through there. Great. And then we can come, when you're ready, all the way up to a seated position. But take your time, there's no rush. Great. And let's do just a little bit of massage for the feet while we're here. Is everybody able to reach their feet with their hands from where they're seated? If anybody isn't, just give me a wave. Great, okay. So it doesn't matter what position you sit in, find something that's going to help you reach your hands, reach your feet without too much strain. And we're just going to give ourselves a minute or two with each foot to make contact. I think a lot of you know that I feel our feet are a little bit neglected part of our bodies, so they really benefit from some focused attention because they do so much for us. You can kind of explore to find the degree of pressure that your foot responds well to. Maybe using the pads of your thumbs, maybe using the knuckles in a fist. And being aware, whenever you do this or any kind of touch, self-massage, just noticing the impact on your breath of what you're doing. Great. You might even want to try that wriggly thing where you slide your fingers all the way in between the toes, slide them up to the knuckles, which is quite a challenge often. And you can give them the ankle a little roll. Just making some space between the toes, lovely. And then let's let that go. And we can extend the legs forwards, but again, straightening the legs completely might strain your lower back. So you might want to softly bend the knees if that's useful, or you can sit up on something. Have a little wriggle through your toes, have a look down, just notice how each foot is kind of responding. And then we can change sides, so whichever foot is feeling a little bit neglected at the moment, you can bring that up and give it a little bit of love and attention. The connective tissue across the sole of the foot is quite deep in places. And you can kind of get a sense of the difference under your hands. Maybe using the fist, if that was a useful tool, on the other side, knuckles, and maybe going for that little handshake, sliding the fingers all the way in between the knuckles of the toes. So you can give it a little circle through the ankles. Great. And then let's extend the legs again. Let's have a little turn in and a turn out of the feet. Great. Lovely. Have a little wriggle. And then let's come from here to a tabletop position, to all fours. Spreading the fingers nice and wide. Find a nice solid foundation for yourself. So experiment with where the hands and knees need to be for your belly to feel strong and supportive, for your back to feel long and open. And let's take a deep breath. And then in your own time, snaking your way towards cat stretch. So a rounded spine, a heavy head. Relaxing the jaw. And then snaking your way to a gentle arch, heart moving forwards, shoulders sliding back, face floating up. But still nice and broad in the upper back, so we're not dropping into the shoulders here. And then in your own time, let's snake our way between those two shapes. Finding a speed of movement that suits you today. Always seeing if you can find a speed and size of movement that keeps you connected with your breath. Right. And if you would like to, you can let this movement kind of emerge and evolve to become a little bit more fluid, circling through the hips and inviting the spine and the shoulders to follow as they need to. You might find a bit of snaky kind of figure of eights beginning to emerge here. And feel free to shift around in your foundation. So maybe taking the hands a little bit out to the left and exploring some fluid movement there will help you feel a bit more through the right hand side of the body. Maybe taking the hands over to the right and find a bit of opening through the left. And then taking yourself towards a version of child's pose that feels really supportive for you today. So maybe the knees might come wider, maybe they might stay together, maybe the head rests on the ground, but maybe it rests on stacked hands or stacked fists or a cushion. And inviting your awareness to come towards your breath. Again, no need to change or control the breath. Just noticing if you might sense any expansion in the back of the body, the backs of the ribs, the back of the waist, the sides of the ribs. Great. And then if you are prioritizing rest today, then you might like to stay here in child's pose or another place that feels really restful and nourishing for you for the next few moments. But if movement feels like more of a priority, then you could begin to find your way into that flow between child's pose and a tabletop position. Back towards child's pose with your out breath. And perhaps threading in downward facing dog if you would like to. And if you are working with downward facing dog today, keep your knees softly bent so that you can reach your hips up and back. And then maybe exploring padding through the heels one at a time so that you can find a little opening through the backs of the legs. But again, be really sensitive to what's happening in the lower back with that. We don't want to sacrifice space in the lower back. And if you are working with downward facing dog, and that's a relatively stable and comfortable posture for you, and it feels like you might want a little bit more movement and kind of opening here, then you could play around with taking one foot away from the ground, have a little circle through the ankle, place it back down and play around with the other foot. But that's really just an option. Great. Whenever you feel ready to bring that to a close, let's meet in a forward bend. So from wherever you are, feet a comfortable distance apart, a soft bend to the knees, releasing the upper body down. Maybe supporting forearms on thighs if that feels better for your lower back. Maybe allowing yourself to release down and really imagining the creases at the front of your hips deepening. So that's where this movement kind of comes from. And if it feels useful and interesting for you, you could explore swaying the hips a little bit, maybe padding the heels a little bit deeper into the earth one at a time, just feeling into that back line of the body without straining. Great. And then when you feel ready to move on, we'll slowly bring ourselves up, coming up with a flat back if that feels better, or rolling through the spine if you prefer. Have a roll through the shoulders as you arrive, have a shake out through the hands. Great, have a little wriggle through the knees and jiggle. Lovely. And then let's take our feet a comfortable distance apart and soft bend to the knees. And we'll explore a bit of a, well, let's start off with some figure of eights because they've just started happening without me even thinking about it. So just beginning to find some figures of eight through the hips. And then when you are ready to, we're going to reverse that movement. So doing the second direction might feel quite different, a little bit awkward. But keep going, see how the brain begins to make sense of it. Lovely. Coming back towards center, a little bit more balance when you're ready. And then let's come into some figure of eights with the hands and the arms. So if you take a look down, if it feels okay for your balance, you can keep watching your hand as you do this. If that throws you off or you feel a bit nauseous, then feel free not to look. And this movement could be really small. If you are feeling kind of a little bit stuck and stressed in your daily life, just a little backwards and forwards with your hand might be enough to start to shift something. But you can play with it getting a little bit bigger if that feels good, and just allowing the hips and the lower body to respond to this as they need to keep things fluid. Nice. And then see if you can take a couple of swoops through the less intuitive direction. That might feel a bit funny, and that's okay. Great. And then coming back towards center, just give yourself a moment to stand and to notice left and right how things are feeling in your body at the moment, around the shoulders, down into the legs. And we'll take whichever hand you weren't working with before, we'll work with the opposite hand. So beginning with those little movements just with the hand, and then allowing that to travel up through the bones of the arms, allowing that movement to kind of speak to the hips, the legs, the pelvis. And just seeing what you need to do in your body. How do you need to move for this to feel as fluid as it can and as easeful as it can? That might mean the movement being quite small. It might mean a lot more movement coming into your lower body. And then taking a few swoops in the opposite direction. Just noticing if that feels a little bit awkward. Great. And come back to center, have a little shake out. Have a wriggle and a jiggle and a bounce. Great. Lovely. And then we're going to do a few nice big, it's a movement that kind of combines a circle and a forward bend. So you can take it at your own pace. It can be as big or as small as feels kind of comfortable and safe in your body to do today. I'll show you once through what we might do. So you could take yourself all the way down into a forward bend with soft knees if that feels okay, or you might start somewhere a little bit higher up. And then we're going to take the left hand, sweep it over to the right, reach all the way out and all the way up, and then follow with the right hand until we come back down. So reaching and sweeping, soft knees. One more time. Great. The next time you find that forward bend, just soft knees and shifting your weight a little bit from side to side. So again, we're sort of just gently offering a bit of opening to the backs of the legs, but in a way that doesn't sacrifice the space in the lower back. And then we'll change the direction of those circles. So we're going to take the right hand this time over to the left, sweeping up and over, following with the right. And if that feels like the same direction you just did, then swap over. I think I might have muddled my lefts and rights up a little bit. But finding your way back into that soft forward bend, wide feet, wide knees. And again, if a little bit of movement from side to side feels good, then you can play around with that here. Great. And finding your way up to stand at your own pace. Have a roll through your shoulders, shake out through the legs. Great, lovely. And then we'll come into a couple of standing poses, and we'll do a standing pose that is going to work a bit more on strength in the hamstrings. So somebody was asking about kind of tension in the hamstrings. One thing that actually is quite useful is strengthening there. Sometimes when we feel tight, we think we just have to stretch and stretch and stretch and stretch. But often building a bit more strength in that area will help to support kind of the appropriate level of openness, I guess. So we're going to start with feet about hip distance apart. And let's step 1 foot back. So we could start with the left foot. If you would benefit from having some support here, then you might turn to face the support so you can hold on to it. And then we're going to bend the front knee, bend the back knee. If your balance is okay to have your hands at your heart, then you could begin here and just begin to dip down into the back knee. It doesn't have to be a big movement at all. And then lengthening back out. So just a few dips. In and out. Great. Seeing if that front knee can keep facing forwards in the direction of the toes. Just notice if it might be rolling in a little bit. Nice. And then the last time that we come down, let's experiment, if your hands are at your heart, with reaching up towards the sky and taking a breath in before bringing the hands down and stepping forwards. Great. And then let's switch around. So we're going to take the right leg back about a leg's distance, hands either with support or at your heart, and then beginning to bend that back knee, and then lengthening at your own pace. Just really sensing the strength that there might be in the legs as you do this. Great. The next time that you come down and bend that back knee a little bit more, if your hands are at your heart, you could experiment with reaching the arms up and taking a breath in. And then hands coming back down as you step forwards. Great, and then have a little shake out through the legs. Thank them for that work. Great. And then I would really love to do a version of downward facing dog at the wall, but I don't know if everybody's got access to a patch of wall that they can stand in front of. Okay, Mandy might do, Anna does. Jan, have you got a patch of wall that doesn't have any furniture in front of it? Not sure. Isabel, great. Ah, wonderful. Okay, so this is just a nice, I was thinking about this through the week. It's a way of practicing downward facing dog that doesn't ask so much from our shoulders, so we can focus a bit more on what's happening in our spine and our legs, because we're not having to think about kind of holding up so much weight. So we're going to turn to face the wall about a leg's distance away from it, maybe a bit less than a meter for me. And we're going to bring our hands into contact with the wall, spread the fingers nice and wide, and begin to walk our hands down until they're at about shoulder height. Great. And then when they are at about shoulder height, soften your knees and reach your hips back in space. So it's as if your hips are trying to reach back away from your hands. Your hands are reaching forwards into the wall. So you can feel a real connection with the wall. The arms are really active. And then from here, you can just explore and experiment with reaching back one hip and then the other. So kind of almost like those figure of eights a little bit. Lengthening through one leg and then the other. So we're kind of exploring, stretching out through the back of the body, the back of the spine, the backs of the legs, but hopefully in a way that doesn't bring a sense of strain in there. You can really focus on lengthening through the upper back. And then the last thing that you might want to play around with is the position of your head and your neck. So just notice that dropping the head right down has a certain feel to it for the shoulders. Reaching the head up and looking between your hands has a certain feel for it for the neck. And you might find that somewhere in between those two, where the neck is a bit more in line with the spine, feels a bit more spacious, a bit more integrated and connected. You can play around until you find something that feels good. Great. And whenever you feel kind of ready to bring this to a close, you could begin to walk yourself back towards the wall, padding your hands up. Just give yourself a moment because your blood pressure might take a moment to adjust from that. Great, and have a little shake out through the arms, through the legs. Lovely. So that again is quite a nice movement that you can thread in through your day, especially if you're doing a lot of sitting or you're feeling quite still. You can just pop that out wherever you are, as long as you've got a wall. Great. So before we come back down, let's do one balance pose. So we'll come into tree pose. Making sure you've got some support nearby if that's going to be useful for your balance. Taking a look down and spreading those toes. Imagine your feet rooting into the earth. Let your left leg be the standing leg. The right heel might come to the ankle, perhaps to the inner calf or the inner thigh. And then the hands might rest with the body, or they might reach out or up. See where you feel most supported. And see if you can find your breath. Let's take one more breath wherever you are. And then hands down, feet back down. And then let's shift to the other side, just noticing the differences that we might feel. Taking the right heel to the ankle or the inner calf, and maybe expanding up with the arms. Let's take one more breath. And then finding your way back down, feet back to the earth. And let's take a moment bringing one hand or both hands into contact with the body if that feels available to you at the moment. Closing the eyes if that feels okay for your balance. And just checking in to see how is your breath now. How are things inside your body? Okay. And then let's make our way down from here towards the ground. Let's come to a sitting position. And let's find our way towards this posture. So we've got our right foot brought in as close to the body as feels comfortable for the knee or the hip. If your knee feels like it's kind of floating quite a long way from the ground, then having a rolled up blanket or cushion underneath the thigh bone will probably feel useful. If the knee can come to the earth, then that's kind of supportive enough. And then take a look at the left foot. See if we can make that leg a little bit more active. So reach out into the ball of the big toe. Feel how that might switch on the muscles of the legs a little bit. Great. And then we're going to bring the left hand towards the heart, the right hand towards the belly. See if we might sit just a little bit taller so the front of the body can open a little bit. And if this is feeling really kind of awkward and difficult to open up, then you might find that raising the hips up a little bit more, maybe on an extra cushion or an extra blanket, will be useful. Then we're going to take the right hand, reach it out towards the side. Turn and take a look at that hand. Feel how the heart is turning slightly under your hand. So we've got some rotation in the upper spine. Take a breath in. And as you breathe out, sweep that right hand over towards the left, as if you were gesturing towards the foot. And then as you breathe in, we'll open back out. And as you breathe out, turning and gesturing. Great. So feeling how the upper spine is rotating as you breathe. And coming back to center, resting both hands together at the heart for a moment. And in your own time, we'll change sides. So the left foot comes in, the right leg extends away. The right leg nice and active, bringing that support underneath the left thigh, if that's useful for you. Right hand towards the heart and left hand extending out. And turn and take a look at that hand. Take a breath in. And as you breathe out, we'll reach over towards the foot. So opening as you breathe in, and then rotating as you breathe out. Let's take one more breath. And coming back towards center. And we'll find whatever sitting position is going to be most comfortable for you right now. So maybe that's with your legs crossed, maybe kneeling, but finding a position that helps you to feel as upright as you can and as open as you can through the front of your body. So that might mean sitting on a couple of cushions, whatever you need to do. Great. And then let's bring right hand to the heart, left hand to the belly. Just going to finish with a stiller twist. We'll take the left hand up towards the sky, take a breath in to get nice and tall, feel the spine at the center lengthening. And then we're going to rotate towards the right, feeling that spine at the center. When you reach a point where you can't move anymore, take that top hand to the opposite thigh or knee. And then maybe staying with the heart, or maybe resting the fingertips of the right hand on the ground. And then if you would like to, you can add a very gentle roll for the head so that you can just stretch through the left side of the neck. So dropping the chin a little bit more towards the collarbone on this side. And then just exploring with the position, the head and the neck. And coming back towards center. And we'll change sides. So left hand to the heart, right hand to the belly. Finding some length and openness for the front of the body, for the back of the body. And then taking that bottom hand up towards the sky. Take a breath in to lengthen through the spine. And take a breath out to rotate gently towards the left. Top hand coming down to find the knee or the thigh. Maybe the other hand comes to the ground. And if it felt good to add in a little stretch for the neck here, then let the chin drop towards the collarbone and gently explore with the position of the head and the neck. But we don't want to strain or push anything too far. Great. Rolling the chin back to the center so the head can come back up to center, and then turning the spine back to center too. Let's take a few final rolls through the shoulders. So noticing what we might be taking into final relaxation with a little movement through the wrists. Great. Lovely. So then when you feel ready to take yourself towards rest, find a position that's going to really suit you today, that's going to really invite your body to settle. That might be resting on your back, but it might be on your side, it might be seated. Wherever you are, let's make sure we've got enough support around us. So supporting the head, maybe supporting underneath the knees or between the knees if you're resting on your side. Under the hips if you're seated. So really consciously thinking about and offering ourselves the physical support that we need so that the body is in the best possible place to drop into relaxation. As you did at the start, sensing through the body and noticing if anything needs to shift or change, even just a little bit, to be even 5 or 10% more comfortable. And then once you've found the position that you need to be in right now, let yourself really drop into it. Let the surfaces of contact between the back of your body and the ground soften and open. The back of the skull is broad, the backs of the shoulders, the back of the pelvis, feet, whatever parts of your body are in contact with the earth, really receptive to receiving its support. So as you breathe and the weight of your body releases into the earth, you might begin to sense the earth coming up to meet you and to hold you. And as the body is able to sense that support and drop into it, deeper and deeper layers are able to soften. The physical holding that the body might be doing through a lot of the day can begin to loosen its grip. The body doesn't need to hold on. The breath doesn't need to hold on. It is supported and held here so it can rest. And we'll spend the next few moments resting together quietly. Nothing else that you need to do. And beginning to become aware again of your breath without needing to change or control it in any way. Just coming alongside it and noticing, how is my breathing now? Expanding out to a sense of your body resting in the room that you're in. And then expanding out from the room to get a sense of the wider world around you. The sky and the earth. Begin to invite some gentle movement back into the body, moving the fingers, the toes. And then in your own time, bringing yourself towards a seated position, but there's no rush to get there, so just move at your own pace. And as you find your seat, just give yourself a little bit of time to feel around and to notice any shifts or changes you might need to make to feel a little bit more upright, a little bit more open. Okay. And then with your eyes open or closed, whatever feels best for you right now, just taking these last few moments together to scan your attention through your body from the crown of your head down to the tips of your toes. Allowing yourself to notice anything that feels important inside right now. Might be familiar sensations, there might be less familiar ones. And then bringing your hands into a gesture of completion for your practice. And thank yourself for taking the time to be with your body and your breath this morning. And think about taking a sense of spaciousness and support into the rest of your day and on into the week ahead.